The year is 2010. We've gone back in time as time-traveling movie producers to see Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 before anybody else, in an attempt to fix it. Cue the intro. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mirror Movie Universe podcast. I'm so excited to be joined once again by my good friend Brian. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am normally at this point we do a little Harry Potter banter. I'm running out of things to talk about. If you were going to marry one of the Harry Potter characters, who would you be most interested in marrying? Or somebody from that universe, maybe.
Such a hard question. Let's presume I'm a male.
Well, you're
Uh,
you. You're you, and you're
I'm me. Let's
marrying
presume I'm me since
someone
I'm me.
from the Harry Potter universe. Yeah.
Shoot. Probably Hermione is like the obvious choice because I've said over and over again, and I will say again in this podcast, she's my favorite character. Um, like so the depth of her loyalty is so deep and unfazed and unwavering. She's smart, she's brave, she's bookish, and she's not at all. And so I'm gonna shout out to my own wife because she has this same wonderful quality. She is not at all given to worldly vanities.
Hmm.
So, right, like Hermione's unimpressed by people that are powerful or that are rich. She's unfazed by people that are super smart because she's also super smart. My wife has the same quality. She's just like things that are otherwise things you're otherwise seduced by. Like, she's like, "No, I don't care about that."
Hmm.
Which is great because for me, like, it's constantly humbling because I know that I'm like, she's not impressed by anything I might accomplish. It doesn't matter what I do in life. She could not care less about any of my accomplishments. Again, there's a humbling experience here. But she also, when we first got married with our oldest daughter, my wife had a great job that was super cool. She got to travel the world. And she just came home one day. She's like, "Oh yeah, I told my boss that I'm not traveling anymore, and that probably means that I'm gonna have to leave my job." And it was like she just couldn't care less. She
Hmm.
was so rightly ordered internally that she was not seduced by her job or by the salary. It was like, we're gonna have a family now, and her priorities were just different. It was beautiful. It was wonderful to behold. So, Hermione. How about you, Dan?
Man, so thinking about the Harry Potter universe, it is all encompassing, right? So you have everybody from the main characters to the more minor ones. I'm gonna say a Muggle character actually, because Harry Potter takes place in our universe. I'll say my wife, because she's a Muggle, just like everybody is a Muggle in the Harry Potter universe. That's my escape clause.
Yeah, that is like the worst answer in the
That's
world.
the
That's
best
like
answer. I
what
mean, I'm
like
glad that you tied it back to your wife and was like, my wife's pretty great too, but I'm just
you
saying,
asked yeah, it was like a
I would marry
trick
my wife.
question. It was like, "Hey Dan, who would you marry in the whole world?" Well, I'd marry my wife again. Well, of course, but we're in the magic world of Harry Potter. Like, if your wife was specifically mentioned and we're some muggle named Kelly that lived in Omaha,
Mhm.
um, then you get to pick that. But there's a cop out right there. Fully blown cop out.
Fine, then I'll say Jenny because she's great and she's fierce and loyal and incredibly protective and totally BA. I'll do that. Just like my wife. And
um, well, all right. So let's do the recap, and then we'll dive into this story because there's a lot to say here.
all
Um,
right, Brian, are you up for the recap?
sure, yeah, I can do this one if you. We'll have to decide who gets to fully finish out our Harry Potter series here with the next one. But I feel
Absolutely. Yeah.
so you did Half-Blood Prince in 2.5 minutes.
Yes.
I am far more long-winded than you.
I know.
I
I'm sitting
can
there like this is gonna take like 12.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Give me 5 minutes. I think I can do it.
I will
Um,
start timing you whenever you are ready, sir.
all right. So the movie opens with by far the best introduction in the entire series. In fact, maybe one of my favorite introductions in all of cinema and all of Hollywood. Um, it opens up with all three of the characters in different locations, all getting ready for what they know to be their final journey. that it either has to end, Harry Potter said this, it has to end with um Voldemort's death or Harry's. And all three of our central characters know this at the beginning. So it sets you into this story. We'll talk about it more when I get stuff I like, but I've only got 5 minutes. Um, they all end up at the Burrows, and they're getting ready to set out on their journey. Before they get to the Burrows, though, there's this they got to figure out how to get Harry safely from the Dursleys' house to the Burrows. So they come up with a plan where their several characters are going to become Harry. They're going to take Polyjuice Potion and become Harry. They leave the Burrows and they were tricked. In fact, the Voldemort knew he was going to get moved, and this massive battle ensues, and they're terrified. Everybody scatters. Harry's with Hagrid. They escape. They get back to the Burrows first, but nobody else is there, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, everyone just died just to get me out." But they do all come back more or less. They find out that only one died, and it was Mad Eye Moody, uh, who was in one sense he wasn't a replacement of Albus Dumbledore, but he was the sort of bravest, the strongest, the most like veteran, war torn of all of them. So to
Right.
lose Mad Eye is really like, well, we lost Albus and we lost Mad Eye within a few months of each other. I think there's 2 months in between, maybe even less. Um, so Mad Eye's dead. Um, there's a wedding that happens at the Burrows because Charlie's getting married to Fleur. And right before the wedding, the very importantly, the Minister of Magic shows up and he has Albus's last will and testament. And Albus has given several gifts to our main three, Hermione, Harry, and Ron. Ron gets a Deluminator. It takes light away, and they're very confused by it.
Mhm.
Hermione is given a copy of the Tales of Beetle Labard. A little bit like Aesop's fables. They're like magical fables. And she's given this copy and they don't know why. And then Harry is given the first snitch that he ever received. These are all very, very important tools, but they don't know it yet and they're quite confused. And then finally, Albus gives them the Sword of Dumbledore, but they don't know
Gryffindor.
where the Sword of Dumbledore is, and so they
Gryffindor.
can't get it. So
Yeah.
they each get three gifts, or they each get one gift, three total, and then the sword that's also there. And then he leaves. Harry goes to the wedding. Um, at the wedding, he meets Albus Dumbledore's best friend and this other woman. And very importantly, the story, this is huge for the plot here. Um, he finds out all of this stuff about Albus Dumbledore's past that he didn't know.
Mhm.
That Albus lived in uh I almost said Bag End in something alley.
Grimmauld Place?
What? No, it
No,
wasn't
no,
Grimmauld
that's
Place.
wrong.
Oh my gosh, it starts with a B. That's why I keep want to say Bag End. And that'll come to me in a moment. But Albus Dumbledore lived in the place where Harry Potter's parents were murdered. And he's like, oh my gosh, Albus was from this place. How odd. And oh, Albus has a brother. He didn't know that he had a brother. He had a sister who died under very peculiar circumstances. He didn't know that. And this woman then says, goodness, boy, are you sure you knew him at all? And this is great. I'll get into it. This is super important because what she's now said is everything Harry's thinking internally. Did I even know this man? Why didn't he give me more? I'm now left with no information. I don't know where to catch Hogwarts or Hogwarts. I don't know where to catch Horcruxes. Um, and and he's wondering the whole time, why didn't he tell me more? Why didn't he give me more? So, Minister of Magic dies. Harry and Ron leave. They disapparate, and now they're off on this adventure to try to find Horcruxes. Um, they don't really have any leads. They get into some nefarious situations. They end up finding one. Umbridge actually has it. Um, they figure out that okay, they need to break into the Ministry of Magic, which they do. They get the locket, but Ron gets really injured. They also realize that when they get this locket, which they know is a Horcrux, that it's got this quality that makes them more agitated, more irritable, more frustrated, whoever's wearing it. And so now this entire journey that they're on, whoever has it is super agitated. While they're gone, and this really very importantly, the entire story stays on them. So you are ignorant of the outside magical world the whole time they're on this journey looking for Horcruxes. They do piece together that it was Sirius's brother Regulus who first takes the locket. and that he actually, at the very end of his life, turned good. Like he was trying to destroy Voldemort. So they discovered that. Because it makes them really frustrated. At one point, Harry and Ron get in a huge argument. They don't know that, like, Ron's frustrated because he doesn't have any information. He's wearing locket all day. Harry and Hermione are sort of constantly brainstorming at what to do, and Ron gets really mad. He says some nasty things, and then he disapparates away. And when he's gone, he can't come back. So Ron's gone. Harry and Hermione continue on in their journey. They go to, my gosh, I can't believe I remember the name of it. Um, they go to this the place where Harry died. Um,
I want to say Godric's Hollow.
Godric's Hollow. Yes, Godric's Hollow. Thank you. Uh, Godric. So they go to Godric's Hollow. And they keep seeing this symbol. Hermione realizes this symbol is it means something, but she don't know. It's a little triangle. It's got a circle. It's got a line through it. But she doesn't know what it means. But she sees it again in Godric's Hollow, and she finds it in the book that Albus left them. Um, they also realize that the sword of Gryffindor can destroy Horcruxes.
Mhm.
So that's why Dumbledore left it to them. This sword destroys Horcruxes. So they go to Godric's Hollow. It goes really badly. They almost get killed by the snake. And then they disapparate away. They're stuck now in the side of a little river. It's very beautiful. And all of a sudden, Harry's wand gets destroyed in this battle with the snake. And while Harry's on watch, he sees this silver doe, and he follows this silver doe to this like frozen lake. And then he sees at the bottom of the lake the sword of Gryffindor. So he decides, okay, I'm going to go in after it. And he's still got the locket on. And he gets pulled out of the water by none other than Ron. Um, and Ron gets there. They get the sword of Gryffindor, and Harry says, okay, now that you're back, you need to destroy this Horcrux. So Ron destroys it, and it's this really beautiful moment. You don't get a lot of moments of just like Ron and Harry. But when the Horcrux opens, it shows all of Ron's insecurities. Ron is worried about Harry and Hermione getting together. He's worried that his mother really did want a daughter, and she was like, he's the fifth son. He's sensitive that he's always in Harry's shadow, and all this comes out when the Horcrux opens up. But he does destroy it. He's super brave, and now they're all reconciled again together. Um, then they decide they're going to go see Luna's father, Xenophilius Lovegood, and he's going to tell them about whatever this symbol means. And they go see the symbol, and they realize there are these three objects that protect you from death. They are the Cloak of Invisibility, which they don't tell him, but Harry has, of course. The Resurrection Stone to bring people back from the dead, and this wand, the Elder Wand, that is the most powerful wand in the whole world. And Voldemort, Harry can see, wants that wand. He wants it more than anything in the whole world. Xenophilius, in fact, betrays them, calls some Death Eaters because they have they've kidnapped Luna, and he doesn't know if she's alive or dead, and they have to escape. In their escape, they end up getting caught by some snatchers, just some people that catch people in the wilderness, and they bring them forth. Snatchers catch people and then bring them to decide if they're really magical or not. But then they begin to see this might be Harry Potter they caught. So they bring them to Draco Malfoy's house, the Malfoy Manor, and there, very importantly, they realize, or if Bellatrix Lestrange is there, because Bellatrix Lestrange is Draco's aunt, and Bellatrix sees that they have the Sword of Gryffindor, and she freaks out. Why the heck do you have that? Where did you get that? That's in my vault. How did you get into my vault? And she's convinced they got into his vault somehow. And she begins to torture using the Cruciatus curse Hermione. Harry and Ron, they're thrown into the cellar. They begin to freak out, and Harry looks at this one little mirror that he has, and he's desperate for any hope. And he says, please, whoever's in this mirror, help me. And Dobby shows up. Dobby, who's the former house elf of Malfoy Manor, can disapparate in and out of that house. So in this cellar, they find Luna, and they find
Ollivander.
Ollivander. Thank you. Dobby takes them away first, and then Dobby manages to get them a wand. They go attack They save Hermione. Harry takes Draco's wand from him in a duel. Um, and then they disapparate away. And as they disapparate, Bellatrix is able to throw one last knife, and the knife gets in there and kills Dobby as Dobby is saving everyone else. So the movie concludes with Dobby dead on the beach, but Harry, Hermione, and Ron all safe at Ron's brother Charlie's house. No, Bill. I'm sorry, they're at Bill's house, not Charlie.
Right.
Yeah, and at Ron's brother's Bill's house, and that's where we end.
Doesn't
How
that
long did it take?
Voldemort taking the wand and then the lightning?
Oh, that's true. There's the one last scene where Voldemort finally figures out that Dumbledore had the Elder Wand and he's buried with it. So Voldemort breaks the his sort of sarcophagus open and takes the wand from Dumbledore's dead hands.
Yeah.
And now Voldemort has the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand in the world that cannot be destroyed. And Harry is left on the side of the beach, wondering what to do next. And that's where we end.
Well done, Brian. That's pretty good. You're at 11 minutes and 37 seconds.
No way. Did it really take me 12 minutes?
It did.
Man.
It did.
And I felt like I was flying. I mean, I skipped over so much stuff.
Just imagine if you weren't trying to go fast.
Yeah, if I was just like, let's talk about this. Man.
I love it. I love it.
How did you do it in 2.5 minutes? Because you skipped everything. That's how.
Oh, well, the Half-Blood Prince, not as much happens, in fairness.
Yeah.
And there is a lot in Deathly Hallows Part 1. You've got the Horcrux, you've got everything with the infighting of the trio. You did a great job. You did a great job. All right, so let me talk about what I love about this movie. It's great. We're finally getting to the end. It's the conclusion of the story. I love to call out people who have done a great job, not just in this movie but throughout the series. So I'll give a shout out to the Weasley family. Right, so you've got Mark Williams playing Arthur Weasley. You've got Rupert Grint as Ron, and you've got Julie Walters as Molly. They're fantastic. I love the dynamic between them. They've been great. I love that you get the wedding at the beginning with all of them. Such great characters throughout. And Rupert Grint has always been good as Ron, but here he gets to do a lot more than just kind of be comic relief. And my favorite moment for him is such a small thing, but it says so much about the character, and it's when Harry is going to sneak off into the night. So he has his bag packed, he's leaving, and Ron just shows up, and he's like, "Well, where do you think you're going? What are you doing?" And he picks up the bag. He picks up the bag because in that moment he's either going with Harry or they're going back to the house. Like either way, he's going with Harry, no matter what happens. And
Mhm.
eventually they do go back to the house. But I love that. It's just such a small little way to be like, I'm here with you, no matter what. Like I've got your back,
Mhm.
no matter what is gonna happen. Um, I love everything that happens. I think that they did a great job of translating this one from book to screen. Like really, really great. They hit everything that needed to be hit. There's one big addition that we can talk about, which is that scene where they're dancing in the tent.
Yeah.
Personally, I love it. I'm curious what your thoughts are, but I love the dance between Harry and Hermione. I think that it's so true to character for both of them. When Ron is gone, you get that moment where they're friends and they're having a great time, and then there something more, and that's ultimately, of course, not. But I just love it. I was watching it and I was just like, it emotionally, it just sucks me into the film.
Mhm.
Really, really great. Do you have any major thoughts on it?
And I've thought about this many times because Daniel Radcliffe has said many times that it's one of his favorite scenes to film, when making this movie, and it's such a powerful, beautiful like moment with him and Hermione where they are so close and they are so intimate, and it's non-sexual, right?
Right.
There's no sexual tension here, but their friendship is just so intimate. The part that always throws me off emotionally or tonally maybe is that then she like collects herself and looks at him sort of scornfully and then walks away in silence. So they have this like really beautiful moment where she sort of rests her chin on his shoulder, and then she like stops and grows cold and then walks away. And
Mhm.
um and you're left to sort of make what you will out of that. Like,
Yeah.
was she starting to actually, was it turning into like a sexually charged moment, a moment where she might have like some genuinely intimate feelings, or did she feel betraying Ron? You don't know what's going on there, and maybe,
Mhm.
right, I mean, maybe that's the complexity of the moment, and that's actually great filmmaking, is that the viewer has to sort of decide what's happening here. um but I always felt I loved the moment, and then I felt almost like, why did it end that way? Like,
Mhm.
what did you take it from me? Um, but yes, those are my thoughts, at least on that moment, because it really is just a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Yeah, I really love it. I love that they included it, and I actually like how it ends because I think that if it would have cut with her resting her head on his shoulder, everyone would have been like, "Oh, they're in love." And so I like that they have to like overdo it to be like they are not a couple. Like
Uh-huh.
this is just friendship, you know, because otherwise people freak out. I've ranted about that before.
Yeah.
Um, as much as I love everything that is translated from the books, which they do a great job with, I also love some of the additions here. Hedwig's death. Obviously, Hedwig dies in the book, but here Hedwig has a much more heroic death. In the book, just dead in the cage when the motorcycle crashes. But here, Hedwig breaks out and flies in front of a curse to protect Harry, which is such a nice ending for that character. It really is like just a little thing that they did to make that so much more impactful and so much more poignant. Um, I I also love, and I know you're going to talk about this. I know it. I guarantee it. I love Hermione's wiping her parents' memories.
Oh, you
Um,
did. You took it. It's fine. You can talk about
I know, I
it.
love it though. It's such an emotional way to start the movie. It's she is. I mean, Emma Watson, fantastic, but just the way that comes across, and the sacrifice that she is making for her friends, it really, really beautiful. I don't want to say more than that because I don't want to take it from you. Uh, let me pause there and tee you up and say, what do you like about Deathly Hallows Part One?
Oh my gosh. There's like this, if these two movies back to back are in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I could talk
Mhm.
about them over and over and over again. I consider them one collective movie, so if I have a top 10, these are one, not two of my top 10. But let's start with the intro because you knew I'm going to like it so much. That moment where Hermione is she's erasing herself, right? Like she knows that if she's going off and um if she dies, she's gone from the world. Like
Mm.
she's like her whole future, she's all in on her friendship with Ron and Hermione. That if and they know they could die in this process. But the only chance to destroy Voldemort, the only chance to save Harry is to go do this. But if she dies, similarly, Ron and Harry are dead, but she has no family. Her parents won't remember her. She will have no artifacts that she lived that she had. She will have no other siblings. She's gone from the world. And that kind of all in is so beautiful and says so much about her character and so much about her love for her friends and that deeply rooted loyalty that she has. I just think, and to open with that, the seriousness, it drives home the seriousness of the moment to open with that scene. And her voice cracks. She's like, I'm coming, mom, because she knows she's about to do it. And she goes down and she wipes their memory and she just walks away. And
Yeah.
she is now, it's such a, imagine like erasing yourself from history.
Yeah.
You have a single task, and if you fail, you are gone from history. It's just such a powerful moment. Love it. Um, I really liked, I know I briefly mentioned it in my intro. I really liked that scene at the wedding. Because it's really hard to describe in movie form, in picture form, what's happening internally for Harry. Harry is really frustrated that Voldemort, or not Voldemort,
Dumbledore.
that Dumbledore didn't leave him more. He has no other idea. He's got some ideas about what could and could not be a Horcrux. He doesn't know where to find him. He doesn't know how to look. He doesn't know anything about Albus. He doesn't know about his history, and he begins to distrust the man.
Hmm.
And then he begins to distrust himself because Albus did so much to form him. I mean, he was his mentor. He was something of a father figure. Um, as much as Sirius, maybe even more than Sirius, because Sirius was like half brother and half father. Um, but Albus was truly like the person that formed him, and he begins to distrust all of this and think, I'm nothing without Dumbledore, but I don't even know if Dumbledore was that good to begin with. Um, and that woman at the wedding says, "Goodness, boy, it's just such a great line to drive home everything that's happening internally. Are you sure you knew him at all?"
Hmm.
And it's just simple, it's concise, but what a great way of doing it. I don't think quite like you. I loved her Ron throughout this story, like throughout
Mm.
all of Harry Potter, until this movie. And finally, you see that like Rupert Grint turns out as a really great actor. But I was totally unconvinced of this until he comes back and he has that monologue describing where he was when he was gone. That he left and he instantly wanted to come back, but he didn't know how to find him.
Right.
And and then he clicks the delimitator, a little ball shows up, and the ball goes right inside him, and he knows I need to separate, it's gonna take me where I want to go. Like he nails that monologue, and it drives home like Ron really he wants to be with them. He does love them. The locket affects him more, so Horcruxes affect him more than Ron and Hermione, and he knows that, and he knows he's the least powerful of the three, and he knows he's not good a wizard as the other three. Like he's got all these insecurities, and they all sort of come out. And Rupert Grint plays it well. I just think that was a really he does such a great job in that scene that he sells me on his acting chops throughout. That like if I don't love Ron throughout the rest of the story, it's because he was probably not written well, not because Rupert Grint couldn't land it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great. What else did I really love? Um, the cinematography in this is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Unlike, right, if you talked about the saturation in Half-Blood Prince, where this is constantly going from dark to bright lights to nighttime, daytime to, forest settings and lonely settings. And they pick all of these great locations
Yeah.
that really that illustrate yes, they're moving, but it shows that they don't know where they're going. Like they're
Yeah.
all over the place and they don't know what even they're looking for. Just a nebulous idea of a Horcrux. And going to all these remote locations was just a really interesting way of telling that story. Of all they're disconjoined, they don't look like each other, they're in poverty-ridden areas, they're in again forests or mountains. They're just all over the place. And I thought that was really good choice and great cinematography in that sense. Um there's so much more. I mean, everything about this movie I really did love, and it builds to that climax so well.
Yes.
Um, Even Dobby's death, I think, is really beautiful. Dobby, this like peculiar little house elf, and even out of loyalty to Harry, he dies.
Yeah.
And it's
Anytime that you have a computer generated character or like a, not played by a real life person and you have feeling, that shows just how well the filmmakers did in creating
uh-huh.
that character and making you care so much about them.
Yeah. No, that's it. So I mean, I could go on and on and on, but um,
Yeah. No, I,
yeah,
I agree with it's really well done, just beautifully done. The battle of the Seven Potters is beautifully done. Daniel Radcliffe does great changing into everybody.
yeah,
Everything in the Ministry with Umbridge and the injustice there and their glance at that in the larger Wizarding world. The Malfoys terrified of Voldemort showing up. I mean, everything beat by beat from the book, just beautifully translated.
yeah. They nail it.
But as much as we love this movie, and we do have to fix it.
Gotta fix it. Yep.
So my fix for this one is a little bit small and it's a little bit nitpicky. I had a couple little small ones and I thought, oh, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. My fix is really with the ending. So when it ends, when they finally escape the Malfoy Manor and they wind up at this house on the beach, Dobby dies in Harry's arms. Um, if you have not read the book, if you have not read it, you don't have that knowledge. You have no idea where they are.
That's
And there is
true.
nothing to tell you where they are. Are they safe? Or do they need to run more? It's a very weird place to end it. And it's a very easy fix because all you have to do is have Ron say, "Oh, it's my Aunt Muriel's house. Oh, blimey, it's me Aunt Muriel's house. Bill and Fleur were here." That was a terrible British accent. But then,
I thought it was Australian.
that's how bad it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Harry doesn't even, you don't even have to have Harry react to it. He can be cradling Dobby in his arms and just Ron doesn't know that Dobby's dying. Ron goes, "Oh, I remember where we are." Blah blah blah. Just have Rupert Grint like come in and do a voiceover of that one line to tell me and the audience where we are, because it's so. If you don't know, you're just lost, and then it ends. So you have to wait a whole nother movie to be like, where are they? Or have Bill and Fleur walk out of the house or something. Like, show me that they're somewhere safe. Show me that they're somewhere that Ron knows. That comes across so well in the book, and it's my only kind of gripe with this is that they kind of flub that, and it's at such an integral moment because then you cut to Voldemort getting the wand and the movie's done. So you really miss just that little bit of exposition could go a long way. That's my only fix for the film. What about you, Brian?
Man, I mean, I struggle with this one, Dan. I did. I didn't know what to fix or what like there's not a scene where I'm like, oh, that doesn't fit, or oh, they milked that for too long, or oh, they should have done this. I mean, everything is just so well done. And we didn't shout out before I go to my fix. We didn't shout out the three actors, the adult actors that were playing Ron, Hermione, and Harry when they're in the Ministry of
So
Magic.
good. So good.
So
Yeah.
good. Like they perfectly, and we're gonna get to this when next movie we talk about Bellatrix Strange and Helen Bonham Carter and
Oh
the
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll get to that.
We're in sync on that. Yeah.
But they are just awesome. They perfectly portray who they're supposed to be portraying, but in a different body. They're just excellent. Um, but my fix, and this is a book to movie critique, is that Harry's just a hair too heroic.
Oh,
There's a scene in the books where they're still at Grimmauld Place and Lupin meets them.
yes.
And Lupin comes and he says, and Harry, so I should actually back up. There's several before I get to this main point. There's several times where the Minister of Magic tries to basically get Harry to come by and sort of support the cause. And he's like, hey, this will just raise morale. Let's muster the troops. We don't have to be your enemy if you just want to come by the ministry. And then every single time, Harry is like, yeah, you guys still doing all your propaganda? And unfortunately for the minister, he's always like, Miss Umbridge tells me you're interested in being an aura. Oh, you're still listening to Umbridge, that woman who tortured me? And he like
Right.
holds up his hand. I mean, and Harry's just got this kind of like nastiness. And I always thought the ministry or the minister, not a bad guy. And you actually find out that he died protecting Harry's location.
Right.
That he knew Harry was staying at the Burrows, but he died being tortured. And he never gave up Harry's location. Harry was protected by the minister. And he knows that, but there's never like some reconciliation there. Um, there's a couple scenes where Harry's just a little bit bitey and kind of nasty. He tries to leave. Even then, when he tries to leave the Burrows, he's going by himself, and he already knows that Ron and Hermione are with him. Um, but he has this scene where they're at Grimmauld Place, and Lupin shows up, and they know that Lupin and Tonks have gotten married, and that Tonks is now pregnant. And when Lupin's like, "Hey, I know you guys," because Harry's really protective of his secret. He never tells anybody else about Horcruxes ever, not even Professor McGonagall. Um, and Lupin says, I can be of help to you. Let me just be with you. Don't tell me what we're doing. Only tell me what I need to know. But hey, why don't I just stick with you? Maybe I can be of some use here." And Harry is cruel. I mean, he's like, how dare you try to join us, you coward? And he calls him a coward.
Yeah.
And he says, you go back to your family. You think it's better for them? You're only worried about yourself. You think that you're going to be embarrassed? You're afraid of being an outcast, but you're going to abandon your own family. And Harry is just nasty. And even Ron and Hermione are like, what are you saying? Harry, what are you doing? And he will not back down. And Lupin is taken aback by this and clearly very hurt, but defends himself. And he's like, you have no idea what it's like. And Harry says, no, you have no idea what it's like. And they go back and forth. It's just, Harry's just cruel. And then Lupin leaves and Harry never sees him again. Like the next time he sees Lupin is Lupin's dead body. Spoiler alert. Um, and even when he and Ron have this fight, Harry just says mean stuff. He's like very insensitive to what Ron's feeling. And that's great. I think I'm not like this humanizes Harry. You got to remember he's still a 17-year-old kid.
Right.
Um, and he is really deeply wounded by what it was like to be an orphan. And the idea that like a living father would abandon his child is totally anathema to him. It's unimaginable that a father and a good man like Lupin would abandon his child because he might be a werewolf, because his child might be an outcast.
Yeah.
And Harry, like, I get it, but depicts that, humanize Harry just a little bit, because I think that could have really gone a long way to letting you like Harry's a child trying to figure all this out, and he is somebody who's living with like remorse. He
Yeah.
learns this stuff after the fact. Like Lupin still fought for Harry and died for Harry. Um, Lupin still believed in the cause, and he didn't. Well, he wasn't resentful. And I forget there was a moment in the books, and I can't remember where it was, where somebody else tells him, "Oh, well, Lupin said this," and Harry's like, "Oh, maybe he did forgive me."
Yeah.
I can't remember where he read that or heard that, but you get this like internal question that Harry has, like, oh, I hope maybe Lupin did forgive me for what I said to him. And it
Yeah.
was just, I think including those would have humanized Harry, would have driven home all of this internal conflict and turmoil that he's in throughout the books as he's just wrestling with a lot of stuff. Um, oh, well, desperately trying to kill the man who's trying to kill him also. So that was my critique. I really wish they had included these moments,
Yeah.
because they would have like not made Harry so heroic and driven home his like sort of human side.
Brian, I absolutely love what you're saying. I love that scene with Lupin. Like in the book, it's so good, it's so well done, and it shows not only what's happening outside of their little quest to find the Horcruxes, because he brings them other news, but it also really sets up his death, him and
Mhm.
Tonks. In the movies, that's I was going to talk about that in part two, but that's kind of a big flub because the audience does not know that they're pregnant, does not know that like what's going on with that until after they're dead. And it's just feels like a big kind of a swing and a miss. So and weirdly because you're doing these movies back to back, the same book. So to not have it there and to not set that up, yeah, I agree with you. Like set that up, show more of Harry struggling with his role in this world and how hurt he is, and he is just a kid. He doesn't know what he's doing. Um, I absolutely love it. Like 100% agree. Put that scene in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it could have been like if you included that scene where he's cruel and the audience is then like, Harry, how could you do this? And then later on with either Ron or Hermione, like when it's just him and Hermione, and he could just be sitting there and being like, I wonder if Lupin really hates me for what I said.
Yeah.
And just this, like a single line that he's just wondering in remorse, like I shouldn't have treated him that way.
Yeah.
Um, like you could have brought it back so easily. So then Lupin's been on Harry's mind, and then when Harry finally sees him again for the first time and he's dead,
Yeah.
oh man, like how powerful would that moment be for
Right.
the audience seeing everything through Harry's eyes? That could have just like again a missed opportunity.
Yeah. No, I agree. Huge missed opportunity, and it's interesting too because it's his last real connection to his father. He's lost Sirius. He's
Mhm.
lost his father, and he's got Lupin as the last one, and he pushes him away, which is a very trauma-based response.
Uh-huh.
Pushes him away to kind of protect himself from losing him, and he loses him anyway. So, like heartbreaking all around, but really, really important and integral to the plot. I agree. I agree. Put it in.
Yeah. So,
All
so
right.
that's my fix.
I love it. That brings us to the end, not of Harry Potter, but of part one, the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows part one. So write in the comments what you think. Do you think that we need to know that they're safe at the end of the movie? Do you think that that scene with Lupin needs to be included? Do you think that there's something else that's just absolutely missing from this, or that needs to be added or changed or whatever? Whatever you think, sound off in the comments below. Please subscribe. And then you will be notified when we do Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And if you've made it to this point in the video, you probably want to see that. We're guessing. So
Yeah, if you've
stick
watched
around for
all
that.
7 of them so far, uh, might as well stick around for number 8.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to drop off now? You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
We would have lost him in 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, thank you as always for watching. We very much appreciate you spending your time with us. And as always, we're going to end with our famous sign off that Brian has not gotten right once, but that's okay. We'll see. God loves you, everybody.
And we do too.
Close
Nailed it.
enough.